How's it going, everybody? I am not doing well. I just placed an order at the cubicle and now I'm feeling stressed out because buying cubes, it just stresses me out. First, you gotta figure out which cube you want to buy. You want to go like this one or this one or this one or that one. And then after you finally decide which one you're gonna buy, then you have the agonizing wait in the mail and you have to wait for it to come and have delays and everything. And all the while, you have this one question in the back of your mind. What if they miscount the order for 100 1x1s and give you 99 instead? Then what are you gonna do? Well, I decided maybe a good way to get rid of some of my stress and anxiety about getting new cubes is to talk about it and just go over the whole process of figuring out which cube you want to buy, buying it from a certain store, waiting for it to come, and then unboxing it. The entire process of buying new cubes. Because it's pretty interesting and has a lot of interesting things going on throughout the whole process. So, buying new cubes. It's a thing that people do. It all starts when you say, I need a new cube. Those are famous last words, by the way. You should write that down. So there's a couple of reasons why you would want to buy a new cube. There's obviously just, I want it, impulse buy type of thing. There's, ooh, it's a new cube that just came out. And there's the people who are collectors who buy all sorts of cubes. And then there's the, I need a new cube for a specific event that the other one that I have, I don't like it or whatever, or it's broken. So these reasons, a lot of them don't really have much logic to them. Obviously the impulse buy, that doesn't really have any logic to it. It's just the way our brains work, and yeah, but then the stuff that's like, it's new, well, that doesn't really make sense because if it's new, then there's not going to be a lot of reviews on it and you won't know if it's really any good. And then you might end up wasting your money on a cube that ends up being pretty bad. So I would actually recommend waiting for a while before you get a cube that, if it just came out, waiting until you see some reviews and say, okay, it's worth your money, it's good, etc., etc. And then probably the most interesting is the, oh, my other one is bad, I need to look for a new main. Out of all the main situations that warrant buying a new cube, in my opinion, the situation where your old cube is broken or not very good and you need to get a new main, I think that one's the most interesting because it actually forces you to research if you want to make an informed and good decision about which cube you're going to buy. It's not like the other ones where either you have something in mind that you're going to buy or you're just going to buy whatever. You actually have to think about it if you're going to make an informed decision. The problem with this is that not every cuber will make an informed decision, but we'll get to that eventually. So after you decided that you're going to buy a new cube, the next step is to decide where you're going to buy it from. Obviously, you can't really buy speed cubes from physical stores. You can only buy really Rubik's brands from physical stores like Walmart. If you were to walk into Walmart and ask for a Gan, Chi, and Mo, you'd probably get a lawnmower, some shredded cheese, and a can. But anyways, that means you have to turn to online stores. Obviously, the most popular online store is Amazon, so why not buy cubes there? Well, the thing is, most cubers have a list of no-no words, even if they're not aware of it, and one of those no-no words is Amazon. The reason for this is because of third-party sellers. These third-party sellers will buy cubes in bulk from the manufacturers or from Chinese stores, and they'll rebrand it to their own cube, like Defantix or Kugum. It's always very cringy when someone will ask you whether you like Gan or Defantix better. I'm just like, what? But anyways, these third-party sellers will also raise the price of the cube, making Amazon completely useless for buying cubes for the most part. There are a couple very small exceptions to this. So that means you're going to turn to online stores that are specifically made for speed cubing, including like Cubicle, Speedcube Shop, or other stores that are more for different places besides the US. Obviously, the Cubicle is probably the biggest cube store, at least in the Western Hemisphere. But the problem is, if you live in somewhere like Europe, you may not want to order from there because of shipping prices and how long the shipping will take. So that's why it's good that there's other stores out there in Europe, in Asia, in Australia, all those places, so that cubers in those regions can order something without the shipping or prices being ridiculous. So once you've decided what cube store you're going to buy from, then you have to decide what cube you're going to get specifically if that was not already decided. So when looking for a new main, there's two main ways that cubers like to go about it. One is to just pick based on price. This could be based on the higher price because it's going to be better, or based on researching and looking at online reviews of a certain cube or multiple cubes. So both of these methods, in my opinion, are somewhat flawed. Now for the first method of buying based on price, well, there's lots of cubes at different price ranges, and if you're going to be buying the more expensive cube, then you'll probably get a good cube, a very good cube most likely, but you'll be not spending your money super efficiently. And if you're going to buy a cheaper cube, you have a chance of getting a really good cube or a not so really good cube, because that part of the industry of cheaper, more budget cubes, there's a lot of really good ones and there's a lot of not very good ones. So then you come to the reviewing method and looking at online reviews, YouTube videos, all that stuff. Now I could probably make a whole video on cube reviews, but basically I don't think they're as useful as they used to be, because most cubes are pretty good nowadays with the industry growing so much. So you don't really get a ton out of cube reviews. This is also because cubes have started to start having different feels, and somehow the cuber who's making the review has to express those feels of the different cubes to the person watching the video. Now there's a couple terms that cubers seem to have made up and I just don't like them. It's like, ooh, it's buttery, ooh, it's crunchy, ooh, it's snappy, ooh, it's clicky. I personally have never understood any of those terms. I never gain anything from someone saying that the cube is buttery. I don't really get that. Maybe I'm supposed to, like, hold butter or something? But it just doesn't make sense. And if it doesn't make sense to me, that it's probably likely that it doesn't make sense to a lot of people, or it means completely different things to the reviewer and the person watching the video. What if buttery to the reviewer means something completely different to the person watching the video, and then they get a false impression on the cube? But I think the most important thing that makes the review method sort of flawed is that you can't really have the same preferences as the reviewer. Even if they say, okay, I like this cube, that doesn't mean you're gonna like it, because there's so many different preferences out there. Now there's also sort of a third method that we can't really access right now in the current situation, and that is trying cubes at comps. Ironically, this is probably the best method to figure out which cube you want to own, because you can try it yourself, see if you like it, try different setups on it if they allow you to do that. And it's probably the best one, but we can't really do it right now, so that kind of sucks. So with one method unavailable and two methods flawed, buying new cubes, or at least figuring out which ones to buy, can be very much a shot in the dark, and just either picking one and hoping that it's good, or buying a bunch at the same time hoping that you will find at least one good one. Now you can see why this stresses me out so much. And now, once you figure out what cube you're going to buy, or maybe just randomly guessed, and you decided what cube store you're going to order it from, you'll order the cube and then you'll just wait for the postal service to deliver it. Now this could be sometimes the most agonizing part, as it's the longest part of the process after you order the cube, because you have to wait for it to come. And this is not helped by the fact that the postal service sometimes doesn't treat your cubes super well, or sometimes they get lost. I remember one time I got a 6x6 and a 7x7 in the mail, and the person who delivered the mail had tried to squash them in the smaller container instead of putting them in the big one and then putting the key in the smaller container so I could access the big one. So this caused the boxes to be basically ruined and unusable, and it was not a good experience. So yeah, it's not fun to wait for cubes. But once you get them, that feeling is sort of over. Then you got what, in my opinion, is the most fun part, the unboxing. Now, a lot of people try to turn this into a video, but I haven't really done this because, honestly, it just makes you act in a certain way that's not really yourself when you're trying to unbox a cube while also talking. You have to, like, sort of contain your excitement and instead of actually, like, talk about the cube. But when I'm opening a package, I'm like, yay, it's a cube, let's go! And I would not want to really act like that on a video. So yeah, unboxing videos are a little weird, but Anyways, you open the cube and you try it out, and it's super awesome, and yay, happiness. Woohoo. So, you unbox your cube. Either you like it, or you kind of just don't, or it takes a while to figure it out, and you solve on it, and you do all that stuff, and eventually the cycle repeats because you want to get a new cube, and it just starts all over again. And that is the entire process of buying new cubes. As we've seen, the process is pretty messed up, but a lot of those problems comes from us cubers ourselves and the way that we think and the way that we decide to buy our cubes. But once you finally get the cube and get to try it and everything, a lot of the stress and a lot of the problems sort of fade away because it's a new cube and it's awesome. So that is new cubes and how you buy them and all that stuff. Now that I've talked about them, I don't really feel as stressed anymore. And speaking of that, my package finally came. So, here it is. Can't wait to open this and get my 101 by 1s and check it out. Let's just get it right into it. Well, wait, hold on. Uh-oh. I think there's 99.